Oh, that's different story.
That's a martyrdom, right?
Story. That's not considered as commit suicide. They burn themselves not because they don't want to terminate their life, but because of the courage of their nation, of their people, as system, like Tibetan people. Even during the 60s, right? I mean, Miss Monk who burned himself not because he wanted to terminate his life, but this is a way to protest, to demonstrate that he protests to the Catholic government who oppressed Buddhism during those times. There's different story.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, there's different motive, there's different intention. Make sense? Yeah. Any question? Yes.
What about a person who has lived a good life and they've done, good deeds their whole life, and then they end up with a condition that they're suffering so much and they want to...
They want to inject some...
Yes, euthanasia.
Medicine. Oh, okay, that's in Buddhism. If that's the case, I have encountered that kind of problem before, but I think in my view, that's more reasonable because they so suffer, they couldn't handle, they couldn't endure that kind of suffering. So that's their choice. In my point of view, that's not considered suicide. They just want to get over with this life so that they can move further. That's different story. Is that right? But this different choice from you so depressed, right? You so desperate and you want to finish up now because you think that there's no solution, right? That's different story. Actually, when we're still alive, when we're still strong, physically and mentally, there's many ways for us to solve problems. Recently, I heard the news when they went to New Jersey. Some of my students, they say that there's one lady, she's an 18-year-old student from UPenn, UPenn, University of Pennsylvania. She's so stressed out that she jumped out. Because in order to get into that school, you have to be top student. And when you get into the system, it's still hard. You have to compete with many people, many students. And she couldn't handle that kind of pressure. So anyway, that somehow many people, because of that kind of pressure, that kind of problems, they couldn't handle in life, especially the young people. Right? Okay, so we talk about that. Okay, so you see that. So the pen and we will talk about Amor too. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Who's the next one?
I'm up next.
Yeah, please.
Which is the definition of the soul.
Yeah, definition of soul. What do you think?
I kind of backed up to Hinduism for a second to kind of go fast. So I said Hinduism teaches an eternal, changeless soul or ego called Atma. In the doctrine of samsara, it is said that all beings are destined to repeat the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth until they are able to reject the physical form completely and become one with Atman, thus becoming one with Brahman. Brahman is very difficult to describe and is considered indescribable by any words or thoughts we can conceive. It is the source of all things, source of the Atman and habits of living things. It's eternal, ever-changing. I go on there. The ultimate goal of Hinduism is to become one with it again. However, despite extreme dedication, Buddha could not find his Atman and then understood that there is no Atman. Buddha taught of an Anatman or non-self and did not believe that we have an unchanging soul. Instead, he believed that all of reality is more fluid. He believed that this search for an Atman within us caused us to be attached to the notion that we are separate from one another and also caused us to become too focused on ourselves. Keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the Buddha taught that a person is a collection of 5 components or skandhas.
Yeah.
The body, which is rupa, feelings, bandhana, which come from our senses and thought, perceptions, which cause us to attach to labels like good and bad, mental dispositions, and consciousness. Through our karma, our mental energy, which is embedded in our consciousness, passes to the next life form. though it is ever changing, unlike Atman. Ultimate goal is to let go of all attachment to our physical form and the skandhas and end the cycle to reach nirvana.
Okay, so can you summarize what
Yeah.
you read? So what is the meaning of soul according to Buddhist view? What's the meaning?
I think of it as comparison to Hinduism. That's why I went into it. I took
Right,
it
that's
in the
Atman.
past class. That, you know, Atman is something that kind of more like how in Christianity they think of a soul that's it's actually an essence of you that will live on. Whereas Buddha believed that thinking this way kind of makes you too attached to your own physical form and that we're all connected to each other. So there's a soul that lives on sort of through, you know, reincarnation, through karma and everything, but you're still ultimately trying to end that cycle.
So you get the points? You get no points, some confusion. Still have some question? No?
Because the attachment, we're trying to get away from the attachment, so that.
Okay, here. That's the concept of soul, right? That's concept of spirit, right? In Buddhism, we don't call soul. Whenever we talk about spirit, it's in this realm. In this realm, voice realm. And most of the time, we talk about what we call consciousness. Because later on, I think we have times, we talk about 12 cleansing conditions. We talk about 8 levels of consciousness. And that consciousness is similar as energy. Remember the energy. After we pass away, if we don't do this body, that energy, that consciousness will move on to the next life. Whichever life we pick up, depend upon our state of mind, depend upon our karma, and depend upon many different factors. That we would have this human life on next human life or heaven. So it's just really complicated. It's not simple factors.
So would
Yes.
that mean that there is no body? We're just speaking of energy. We're not speaking of the body. Like you put the body in the grave, it stays in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the mean, in sensitive point of view, we talk about the energy. In Buddhism, we talk about what we call consciousness, the transformation of consciousness from one form into others. So, for example, here we have this body. We have this consciousness that lives in ourselves. This is the same concept as different condition, right? But in Buddhism, we say that after we done with this body, that consciousness, in the form of energy, according to sense point of view, move on to the next life. According to our karma, according to our mentality, according to our state of mind, and plus according to many different factors.
So in other words, this body is not me.
Yeah.
It's my consciousness that's me.
You can say that. When as long as we live in this cycle of the birth.
So then the me that's my consciousness isn't my soul that's fixed and this is who I am and it can't change. It's a consciousness that can change by going through these different lives. So that the consciousness can go to different places as you're reborn and it can change. It's sort of fluid, more fluid than say a soul that's fixed and you die, your soul goes somewhere.
Yeah, that is why in Buddhism we don't use this notion. So, whenever you talk about soul, you think about permanent, right? Permanent identities, right? Like in your paper, yeah, especially you have the blessing to study Hinduism, but we don't have that kind. The reason why in Buddhism we try to transform the Atma, so that we can what we call here, we get back to our pure nature, Buddha nature. That means ourselves. Remember, when we talk about the life Buddha, when I try to explain to you about the state of enlightenment, remember that? So he came back, he achieved to this, he achieved to that kind of pure nature, Buddha nature. Let me put this way for you to understand. Look at the pure water. We could not get pure water out there. This kind of pure water has been purified through many processes, right? So there's our mind. And can I pour out the water, please? Okay, now, here. regardless of the action I do with this water, if I check it, it's still pure water. Make sense? But what happens when we go out there, we take the water from the pond, right? And we put down, pour out all the particles, all the sediment will be sailed out, right? What happens when we pick up and shake it? It becomes muddy again. But this pure water has been purified already. So no matter what kind of action we have, it's still pure water. So there is what they call pure nature, Buddha nature. That in Buddhist view, or in my Buddhist view, that is a permanent pure water, pure nature of the consciousness. Yes?
Yes, and the Buddha did talk about there are like 6 ways to purify like a negative karma, and similar to what you just said.
Yeah, we will talk about that later on.
Okay.
So that's the concept. When we talk more about Mahayana theories and principles, we talk more about that Buddha nature. Okay? So probably now some sort of confusion for you, right? You get the idea? Okay, good. Okay, so again, now as long as we still in the samsara, a cycle of rebirth, there is no permanent consciousness, no permanent self. You understand that? Until we achieve this state of mind. Make sense?
What state of mind is that?
Buddha,
Okay.
Buddha nature, pure nature, or nirvana. Make sense now? Okay? So let's just move on to talk about more. Okay, yeah, your turn for karma, please.
Yes, I found a lot of interesting things about Buddhist karma. I've heard people speak of karma.
Okay.
And, you know, from my understanding, it's like Newton's law of motion.
Oh, good, yeah,
For every action, there's a reaction.
Yeah.
And so karma is